Hi everybody, Carol Garrison with Carol's Creative Escape. As I said, my name is Carol and I'm coming to you from White Bear Lake, Minnesota, and I thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join me this afternoon. It is Monday, March 24th, and I hope everybody had a good week. We've had kind of cool, rainy, not always so pleasant temps, it seems like, the last few days, but hoping that in the next week or two we're going to start seeing more warmer spring-like temps heading our way. We have no snow on the ground, so that's a big thing. We missed the last storm that they were predicting, and in my book at this time of year, that's always a good thing to have happen. I've been making cards for about 30 some years and do all types of techniques, starting with dry embossing to stenciling to rubber stamping, and recently I've made a change in my card path so that I am creating videos to encourage people to use their stash. I took a look around at some of the things that I have in my stash and realized I have a lot. I don't think I'm alone in that, but one of my goals, hi Lynn, thanks for joining in. One of my goals is to now really focus on using that stash, and I tell you, I've had a lot of fun as I go through. I'm even looking at some old card techniques and maybe trying to bring some of those back too, but it's really been fun to go back through and look at some of my pattern paper that I've got, revisit old ribbons, colors that were favorite colors, and really just trying some different things. And that is what I'm here to do. My goal is to essentially spread joy one card at a time, and that can either be through sending a card to somebody, receiving a card, and even more importantly for me is helping somebody find their creativity. So I hope that my card making techniques that I share with you will help inspire some of that. If you've ever questioned whether you've got the ability to do it, I promise you do. You just have to have a little bit of faith in yourself and watch some of the fabulous videos that are out here, including my own, and we will get you started on a journey making cards. So I am just going to flip my phone over. I apologize for a little bit of shaking, but that's how it works. We'll get rid of my ceiling and bring in some of the card stuff. Tonight I really dug kind of deep too in my paper. A couple kind of papers that you probably still could purchase, as well as some that retired a long time ago. I think you'll be able to figure out which ones I'm talking about on that. I want to just take a quick peek here and see where I'm at. A little bit crooked it looks like. Get rid of my camera stand. And I apologize, it always takes just a little bit of time to figure out how all of this is supposed to be going. And I'm going to scoot my camera up just a little bit. I know last week I kept kind of going off camera, and I want to try to prevent that from happening with my video this week. And I'm actually still trying to finish up a couple of my samples, so as I show those to you, we will be finishing them up. It's just adding the sentiment. But I kind of wanted to get a feel for how the card turned out. So my first sentiment is going to be a birthday card, and I just need to adhere that to here. And I goofed, so I flipped it over. Always grateful that paper has two different sides to it because it makes it a whole lot easier. So that's my first sentiment, and I've got narrow borders on this because it matches the card. Layers of paper on the card. And this one, same layout, but I've turned it into a birthday card. And then I have one more card, same layout. This time it's a congratulations card, so I figure it could be used either graduation or as a wedding card, or with the colors in this card, it could even be a baby card if you wanted it to be that. All right, so I got my sentiments ready to go, so let me bring out the first card. It is this, and the layout is the same on all of the cards, but I've made a couple different samples because I really want you to see that just by changing up paper, you can create any occasion card that you need. So I'm going to go ahead and put my sentiment down here. Again, I'm trying to stick with these narrow margins that have existed throughout. And so I'm just going to put this down here and let the pretty paper speak for itself. And this card opens up like this. So it's kind of a pocket card. I was digging through for some of my off-white paper and I found this die cut. And I thought, you know what, that'll be fun to use. So I'm sticking that in there. And kind of the fun thing that you can do with this card is you could just leave this as a note and write on it, or you could add a gift card in there as well. Now with the sympathy card, I'm probably just going to write a note, but again, it's an option to create that into a gift card holder. The next card, same layout, whoops, except it's not sitting in the pocket the way it's supposed to. All right, same layout, but in this case, I'm making it into a congratulations card. And like I said, because of the pastels and the floral, you could really use this as a wedding card or as a baby card even. And maybe, I think we want that one up center like that. And again, it just opens the same way. Here it is with just a regular piece of cardstock in there that you can write on. And if it's a wedding card, you know, you could make it into a gift card holder as well with your note. So there's that. And then the last sample that I have to share with you is a birthday card. This is some really old paper that I found. I wanted to try something with black and white, and I love daisies, so I remembered I had this. I thought, that's what I'm going to do. And we'll just add a little bit of adhesive, and we're going to stick this. I'm going to put this, you know what, I think I'm going to put that in the center too, just to break up that pattern. All right, deliberately chose not to put these on dimensionals because this is a thicker card. There's a lot of layers to it, but it is a lot of fun to make. And I think I'm going to show you the sliding mechanism is super easy. And so this is one of those awesome cards that makes it look like you are over the top talented in your card making. But instead, you are simply elegant in making that card. So let me give you measurements real quick. And I did, for this particular card, I really did dig deep. I don't know if any of you will remember this paper, but we're going to see what happens as we go. So if you want, go grab paper and pencil real quick, or you can go back on replay. I'll give measurements at the very end here too. But you're going to start with a piece of cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 11, so just half of a normal piece of cardstock, and you'll score it at 3.5 inches. Oops, it does go this way. 3.5 inches, and then again at 9 inches. So 4 1/4 by 11, 3.5 inches, and 9 inches for your scoring. And then you're going to take, and I got lots of pieces of paper cut here, so I just got to work my way through it. You are going to take a piece of cardstock that measures 3 1/8 by 4 1/8, and then a piece of coordinating designer series paper that is 3 1/4 by 4 inches. And then you will have another piece of cardstock that measures, my measurements, I struggled with this, so I want to make sure I'm giving them to you correctly. 1 7/8 by 4 1/8, and then a piece of designer series paper that measures 1 3/4 by 4. So everything's kind of going down by 1/8 of an inch. And then I already think I might be missing a set of paper. I'm going to have to cut some because I don't think I cut enough. It's all right, I can do that real quick. And then the next piece of paper that we're going to have will measure 3 1/2 inches by 7 1/4, and you will score this at 1/2 inch and at 5 3/8. And you will have a piece of cardstock that measures 5 1 7/8 by 4 1/8, and then designer series paper. And this is going to measure, it should be 1/8 of an inch down, but this is where I ran into some issues with the instructions that I was following. So I want to make sure that I give you this one correct. This is 1 5/8. Nope. It is 3 1/4. I'm sorry. By 1 5/8. So 3 1/4 by 1 5/8. It'll get layered onto that piece. And then you will have another piece of cardstock that measures 3 3/8 by 4 1/8, and then designer series paper that measures 3 1/4 by 4 inches. And then I need to do another set of that cut. And then I've also got a piece that's 2 3/4 by 4 1/4, and that's what I'm using to slip into the inside of my card. So let me real quick, thankfully I have not put that paper away yet. And so I'm just going to grab that real quick. This is probably the correct width. Yep, it's the same piece. So this needs to be, what did I say it was? 3 1/4. All right, we got that. So 3, nope, not 3 1/4. 4 5/8. Glad I double checked. And then I need to cut a piece of this that will measure 3 3/8 by 4 3/4. So I'm just going to measure out the 4 3/4 part. Sometimes the measurements can trip you up. That's why I like to repeat them at the end too, just in case I've made a mistake as I was going through it. And this will be 3 3/8. And this is kind of just a sliding pocket fold card. I don't have a real fancy name, and I don't recall seeing one when I saw the layout either. Okay, so let me do a quick repeat of these two measurements. So you need 2 sets of these, and these will measure 3 1/4 by 4 5/8, and this piece measures 3 3/8 by 4 3/4. And like I said, at the end here, I will also give you the measurements again, because there's a lot of paper with this one. So let us start with the outside of the card. The first thing we're going to do is fold it in on our score lines, and we will use our bone folder just to burnish these edges and get a good crease there. And then we will do the same on this piece of paper, and this one you're going to measure it down, or fold it mountain, and this bottom piece, the cutter cut it a little rough, you're going to fold it as a valley. And so we've got all of our folds and our score lines done. And then the next thing we're going to do is start assembling layers, because there are a lot of layers. And all you basically have to do is grab the designer series paper that fits the cardstock. You don't even need to worry about placement right now, except for getting these pieces put together. And this piece goes here. And like I said, the first time I made this card, I'm pretty sure I cut this chunk several times before I got it right. I don't really know what my problem was, but it's just one of those measurements that, you know, every once in a while you just get stuck. I got stuck. All right, so there's that. And then the next one we'll add is this. And the only thing that I was careful of when I measured, these two pieces ultimately are going to go together. And so I just made sure that my lines were running vertical instead of horizontal, you know, the pattern of the paper. I didn't really pay attention to it when I cut this, the first piece, but then I realized, oh, when I cut this, I better make sure, because I thought it kind of looked a little harsh to see it go the other way. You can do pretty much whatever you want. All right, and then we're going to come and also put adhesive on the back of these strips. I really like the colors in this card. It makes a nice masculine card, which is kind of what I was going for, because I do like to show people, even though I tend to work a lot in florals, as you can tell, I got 3 cards here with florals, that it's really easy to transition a card into a masculine card as well. So let's decorate the outside of this card, because it's going to be pretty straightforward. This piece will go on the top part of our fold. And again, we're working with 1/8 inch borders all the way around. So I just kind of set it down and then look at my opposite corners. And as long as they're pretty evenly spaced, I'm comfortable that the rest of the, you know, that the opposite corners will be. I learned that trick and it was a great tip that was shared. And then this piece we'll put down here on the bottom of the card. I open my cards up a lot of times when I'm adding layers. It kind of helps me to see the score lines better, but you can really do what works best for you. All right, and so now we've got this part of the card fairly done. We are then going to come in and take our super sticky peel and tear tape, and I am just going to run this right along the edge of my cardstock. I do not want this taking up a lot of space because we do need to make the pocket piece slide. So I am putting this right up next to the edge of my cardstock. And then I'm going to take the backing off. Oops, peeled too much off there. There we go. And then I'm just going to fold that down. So that forms one of the pockets. I'll hold off putting this on the front until I have my inside mechanism folded, because I think it makes more sense. It's a little easier to show you what I'm doing. So this piece is going to become the part that pulls out of our pocket. And so it is going to go on this piece of my card, because it's going to go like this. And then I'm going to take one more piece of this tear and tape and put it across the back side of this section, because it's going to go into my card like that. That makes sense. And then the only other thing I need to do is, again, just like we did here, we've got to create this little pocket. And so we're going to put our tape right up next to the border, or the edge there. And whenever I will use this stronger tape whenever I'm doing a card that either has moving mechanisms to it, or I want it to be sure that the pocket piece is going to hold. I don't want to send somebody a card that's going to fall apart when they're pulling stuff in and out of it. That would be no fun. So we'll just fold that pocket up like that. So now we've got our pocket here, and we have our pocket here that's going to hold this, just like so. And to add this piece to the card, it's actually quite simple. You need to just bring this edge right up to, but not on, the score line. Okay, now I do find that it's actually easier to tuck the card into the pocket while I'm doing this step, because that gets it down where it needs to go, and I'm sure that it's going to slide in and out. And then you're just going to center it left to right. And again, you just want to make sure that this goes up to, but not over the score line. That'll make sure that the card keeps flexing the way it's supposed to. And you're just going to close it like that. And then what'll happen is that automatically folds over, so nobody's going to see that part. But I just realized I forgot an important step. I forgot to put my decoration on there. Not a big deal. We'll make it work. Shoot! I was so eager to show you how that mechanism was going to work. And of course I used really powerful tape, but that's all right. We will still, I think, make this work. And if not, I'm just going to carefully remove it. And I will cut a new piece of this paper. And we're just going to have to make this work. This I know I can peel off pretty easily. The beauty of being live. You see it all, the good, the bad, the mistakes, and everything else. When I first decided I was going to make videos, I basically promised myself I was going to stay true to me, which was mistakes and all, and I have. Let me run off and get another piece of this paper. And I suppose if I was really good at videos, I could edit this mistake out and pretend like it never happened, but I'm not good at videos or at editing, and I think it's good for people to see that everybody makes mistakes and it doesn't really matter. We can make it, we can find creative ways to fix it, or we simply replace the piece that we made the mistake on if we can't fix it. So again, this piece was 3.5 inches by 7 1/4. And it is scored at 1/2 inch. And again at 5 3/8 of an inch. When I was doing this earlier, I actually cut instead of scored on one of my pieces. That happens too. All right. So now I still didn't score that right. What did I do? 1/2 inch and 5 3/8. Did I not cut it the right length? I didn't cut it the right length. Good grief. All right, we're going to try this again. 3.5 inches by 7 1/4 inches. Whew, I got it right that time. And then I will be scoring it at 1/2 inch. At least you'll have the measurements down for this, right? And 5 3/8 of an inch. That looks a whole lot better to me. You should see the area around my camera, what you can't see, because I basically just keep throwing things off to the side so that they're not in the camera. All right, so now we are going to redo this section. And I will grab my bone folder. Yeah, so now I've got paper scraps kind of all around on my workspace. It's all right. It all cleans up. It all cleans up. All right, so now we are going to put our adhesive here. I will put this back on the front, and I am going to add more adhesive because, of course, where I had to tear it off, it has paper stuck to it now. All right, so we'll go like that, and then we'll take our double-sided tape. So I'm showing you all the things that could go wrong as you're making this card, but honestly, despite my best efforts here, this card is very easy to assemble, and hopefully I have shown you that. It's only because I forgot that one step, which I almost just did again. Before we fold it up, we're going to put this layer in, and again, it is just centered on here with that 1/8 inch, and now we can fold it up. Oh, can't grab that piece. All right, now we can fold it up. See, easy peasy, it's all fixed. And then I know I'm going to have this little bit here, so I'm going to show you a little trick that I have done on some other cards where I've had paper peel up like that, and I don't want to redo the whole base and cut everything. I just kind of lift that flap up and I add just a little bit of this glue, not a lot, and I glue the flap back down. And by the time we have the card all assembled again, nobody's going to notice if there's a little bit of a tear. No one, I promise you. They're going to be so thrilled that you've got this beautiful card here. And remember, right now it looks kind of bad, but most of it's going to be covered up when I add or remove this adhesive and we fold the card down. Ta-da! So it's just that little bit. That hardly shows. So we're not going to worry about it. We can still use this card. Here's a little card that I'm sticking inside so I can write a note. Doesn't have to be a big note. And then when you close it up, this pocket slides into that pocket. And then we're just going to add this to the front to decorate. Now this card does a couple things for me. One is it is a oops, no, that's right. It's a multi-purpose card, which is something I always strive for. I think my tape thingy is doubling up on itself here. Just a second. I'll fix that later. A good crafter always has a second tape runner, don't they? Makes a great multi-purpose card. All you have to do is change the paper. When you're attaching this piece, remember that this part is low or is loose, so you don't want to put adhesive on it. And then I am just going to set it down so that I have it centered on the front of my card. And it will go like that. Now, again, as I was saying, I like this card because it goes for any occasion. I just have to dress it up with a sentiment. And I am going to go ahead and make this one a masculine birthday card, simply because I think it appears in my mind to be masculine colors. And so the happy birthday strip of paper that I used on this card, actually I need to find that scrap of paper. This happens to measure, just so that you know for your purposes, 1 3/4 by 1 inch, and that's my basic white piece. So we'll cut that at 1 inch, trying to see where you can see the cut, and then it's 1 3/4. And these are, for sentiments, I just kind of cut what feels right for me. And then I'm going to just use some of the brown paper, and so I want it to be 1/8 of an inch bigger, so I'm going to cut it at 1 1/4 and 2 inches. And I might have this too big and need to do just a little trimming. We'll find out. Yep, I need to trim 1/8 of an inch off on each side. And let's see if we got it. We sure do. All right. Now, I don't really have any ink colors that specifically match these colors, but what I do have is Summer Splash, which is somewhat, is that gonna, that might be a little too bright. I think even though I know it's a slightly different color of brown, I think I am just going to use my dark brown ink and stamp Happy Birthday on here. I'm actually going to do this in my brown color. And then after cleaning this off, I'm going to do it once in that Summer Splash and see how I like it. And I might actually do it in, I think instead of the Summer Splash, which has a bit of a blue tone to it, let me try Shy Shamrock. That might actually work better. We'll find out. We'll use the color we like best. So I'm just going to flip it over. What do you think? I think I'm going to do it in that green. It's not quite the same color, but I think it pops out a little bit better. And I like that. And that way I'm not doing brown on brown. What do you think? Yeah, I'm going to do it that green. And you know what? I was kind of half being sloppy when I laid it like that. I like how that looks. And so through a happy little accident, that is how I'm going to attach my sentiment to my background. It just changes it up a little bit. Oh, it kind of, does it look silly? It kind of looks like it slipped off, doesn't it? All right, I'll play with that technique, but we'll go and be straight until I can figure out if I like it or not. I do like it, I just am not sure that this is the right card for it since all the other lines are so straight. And then I am going to put this in the center here because I do kind of want it to break up the pattern just a little bit. And there we go. We have our finished card. Oh! And see, I'm just not having a good night tonight, guys. I was off camera for part of that. All right. So, anyhow, I did successfully make the card. I did have a couple mistakes. I got those fixed. And I am really going to work harder on making sure that I stay in my camera field. I don't know why I'm having issues with that, so I do apologize for that. But I think you all know how I was going to attach that, so hopefully I didn't mess things up for you too much on that. If there's any questions, let me know. But again, let me go back now and repeat measurements for this card. The card base itself measures 4 1/4. I'm getting my little notes here. Measures 4 1/4 by 11, and you will be scoring it at 3.5 inches and 9 inches. And then the first brown layer here measures 4 1/8 by 3 3/8, and the designer series paper on top of it measures 3 1/4 by 4. This square measures 1 7/8 by 4 1/8, and the designer series paper on top of it measures 1 3/4 by 4. And this, the folding sliding pocket mechanism, measures 3.5 by 7 1/4, scored at 1/2 inch and at 5 3/8. And this piece of designer series paper measures 1 5/8 by 3 1/4, and the brown layer underneath it is 1 3/4 by 3 3/8. This piece, these two layers here, the cardstock, will measure 4 3/4 by 3 3/8, with the designer series paper measuring 3 1/4 by 4 5/8. And you need 2 sets of those, one for here and one for here. And then this basic white paper I have in here is 2 3/4 by 4 inches. And don't be afraid to go with a different shape. Remember, this can also be a gift card holder. So you can slip in a gift card for somebody. It would make a great graduation card, a birthday card. You could, not sure that, well, you could use it as a sympathy card if you're including like a check or a cash donation. You could slip it in the pocket, or you would just write your note on this little pocket card. So you don't have to necessarily, include a gift card or money on it. It can become a gift holder, or it can just be a note card holder. So we've got a birthday sentimental, a sympathy card, a male sympathy card, a masculine birthday card, and a more feminine birthday card, and then also a congratulations card. So they are easy to make. Most of the measurements are square, so you don't have to worry about a lot of futzing on that. I found it easiest to cut all of my layers and then start to assemble. But as I was cutting my layers, I stacked them up, if that makes sense. So as I cut the base for this, I put the designer paper on top of it. As I cut this base, I then cut the designer series paper to go on top of it. That just helped me keep everything in order and know what paper went where. So again, here are the quick and easy cards. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you for being patient with me as I struggle through a couple of my steps here. But again, it's good to see that even people who've been making cards for as long as I have, we still make mistakes. We're still not perfect. And what we have to do is find a way to fix it. Sometimes just throwing it in the trash is the right answer. But in this case, I knew I could restore it. And that is what I did. So take care, everybody. Have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.